Oh, hey there. Welcome to day 8 of our Get Up and Go Challenge. Get Up and Go Challenge 5, fifth 30 plus day free challenge we've done this year to help us know what to do every single day, to know what to do, to stand up and get up and keep moving forward in our life, no matter what kind of craziness and chaos is going on around us. Now, today we're going to talk about your change reaction. What the heck is a change reaction? Really, it's your initial response and reaction to changes or challenges, things that come down the pipe that you probably feel like you have no control over. Now, I'm going to be real honest about my original change reactions because they weren't pretty, right? They're not necessarily pretty. They're just how we respond to stress and change and challenges. Of course, I have a history of my go-to question being WTF, and I realized about 10 years ago that that wasn't a very empowering question, but that was always my go-to whenever something wasn't going the way I thought it should be, or expected it to be, or fantasized that it should be going this particular way at this particular time in my mind. I would get frustrated. Well, I was getting frustrated all the time because I was always asking in my subconscious, WTF, WTF, WTF. Why isn't this perfect right now? Why isn't this the way I expect it to be? So I still have a little bit of a propensity to, whenever something really sidewalls me or, hits me up alongside the head, such as COVID-19, the first response is WTF. What the heck? What the heck's going on? What happened? And then why did it happen to me, and is it impacting me? And then I roll into better questions, but it's mostly all about, and the tool we'll talk about today is investigating, looking into something, questioning it, being curious about it, inquiring, wondering, and going from this happened and I just have to accept it the way it is. This is reality. I can't stand that when people say this is just reality. This is the facts. This is the way it is. No, everything is subject to our own personal interpretation. It's up to us to filter and analyze and figure out what the heck everything means to us, because things happen and affect each and every one of us differently every single day of our lives, and it's up to us to decide. So we want to remember that we are our own best, most fun, coolest scientific experiment, coolest subject to study, coolest thing to learn more about and understand and wonder more about. Because guess what? We're the thing we have the most control over, right? Our reactions, our response, how we deal with things. So I like to look at how I responded when I asked this question, what's my change reaction, or what's my response to change and challenges? Since I've worked on it a lot this year through all the different Get Up and Go challenges, I like to ask myself, how did I react and how did I respond when COVID-19 first hit? Well, it was, what the heck? What the heck is going on here? WTF? And then what does it mean to me? And, what's happened? It's we always react with initial emotional response. Anything that happens, we respond emotionally first, and then we try to understand it with our brains, and reasoning, and our objectivity, right? We react emotionally, and then we try to justify our emotion or understand our emotion based on the more information. We gather more information. So often we have disbelief, and all kinds of other feelings, horror, if it's a bad thing that happens. We just had 3 people got stabbed in my little town on Sunday morning at 1 a.m., just a couple of days ago. And that's a horrible, horrific thing to have happen in our little town. Well, it's because we're in a border town and the state next to us is shut down really, really tight. So people come from the nearby city, which is one of the biggest, most challenged cities in America this year, to go to the bars and party and actually kind of get into trouble. And people have been pent up for so long that it's like worse than cabin fever. People are busting to get out and just unwind. And so, I'm not sure what's going to happen now in our little town. Probably have all kinds of, the mayor wants to put in a 10 p.m. curfew and things, and all kinds of stuff. But the initial reaction to something like that is horrified. I walk by where this happened every single day when I go for a walk. And so to me, it's like, wow, I don't want to not feel safe in my little town. So my first reaction is sometimes it's always emotional, and then what's next? After the initial reaction, it's either positive or negative or neutral, right? Well, that was a negative reaction. COVID-19, to me, honestly, it was sort of neutral because for the last 2 years or so, my vision has been deteriorating and I've had to make accommodations in my lifestyle and my mode of operation in a lot of areas and aspects of my life. So to me, I didn't have to make a lot of massive changes to what I was already doing and what I'd already been transitioning and transforming to. So my actual initial reaction to COVID was, man, this is horrible. This is crazy. Never seen anything like this. But personally, then it's after the initial emotional reaction. What impact is this going to have on me right now? What do I need to do right now? What do I need to look at? What are my short-term and long-term ways of responding? Procrastination, if I'm honest, procrastination and putting off deciding or choosing or taking any action is my initial response to change and challenges right now. Because I found that in the past, when I reacted emotionally and just took action immediately based on my initial emotional reaction, I didn't always make the best choice for me in those given situations. Sometimes I would not retaliate, but I would respond and react emotionally in my verbal response and reply. And I would say things that I didn't necessarily want to project. I didn't want people to necessarily know I was super upset about a change or a challenge before I had time to think about the short-term and long-term consequences and how I really wanted to respond to that. And that came from, some hard lessons learned of not so positive responses to change and to challenges. And that's how we learn and that's how we grow. So today, all we're going to do is take a look back and say, how do I generally respond to change? How do I respond to challenges? When something pops up, usually it's a surprise and it's usually something that we consider negative at first, but you can look for positive changes and challenges as well, because you may have a slightly varied process for that, or what you might find, like I did, it's pretty much the same, whether it's a super awesome good thing that happens or a bad thing or something that we consider bad. Stuff happens and it really isn't bad or good, positive or negative. For the most part, it's how we respond to it and how we react to it that determines if it's positive or negative for us. And guess what? A negative change to one person is a positive change to another. That's a really interesting way of looking at it too. That overall, the change and the energy in the world remains neutral because there's positives and negatives that balance each other off all the time. So today, just pay attention to what is my process. Take a minute or two and actually write it down. I did that. I did it on this little Post-it note, which I cannot read, but I did write it out to say I do write it out because it helps me remember different things by writing things down, even if I can't read them. Even with a magnifying glass, I don't think I could read this. I wrote on mine a little bit more about considering how urgent, important, and necessary it is to have a reaction and when to have that reaction and what I want that reaction to be. And we'll talk more about this tomorrow. I've got a cool way of dealing with all of the emotions and all the things that come up when we're faced with a change or challenge. We're going to talk about that tomorrow. Sneak peek. But today, just do the process, see what your process is, and then share one positive thing and one negative thing about your current process. My current process is still, the negative thing about it is so often my initial reaction is WTF. And I don't want that to be my initial reaction yet. Sometimes it still is, depending on the change or challenge. And so to me, that would be one negative thing, is that my go-to initial response is WTF. And that's what it was about these stabbings. It was WTF. And then it's, how can this be happening in my little town? And then, you take it personally and all these other things that we do as human beings. And a positive thing is now, even if WTF comes up first, I take a deep breath and I don't say a word until I've run through the framework that we're going to learn throughout the rest of this challenge. All right, so that's it. Any questions? Hit me up in the comments below. Otherwise, what's your current change process? And yours, like mine, might have changed since COVID, because we've gotten a whole lot of practice of change reaction during this 2020. I think in 2020, more people have had more opportunity to understand and experience change probably than any other year of a lot of our lives. Now, I've personally had a lot worse years and a lot a whole lot worse years than 2020 for me, and a lot more challenges than I've had in 2020. But I think that 2020 isn't as challenging for me because I have previously had all of those challenges and all those years of figuring stuff out along the way. All right, have an awesome day. I'll be with you tomorrow with our next step in the change and challenge process to guarantee that we have better results after any change that we experience than before. Have a great day.